Hey guys, happy hump day edition of End the Simpademic. Jason coming at you here, and I want to let's discuss market value tonight. And I'm going to break this down into two parts, and I'm going to probably do it kind of backwards and reverse because I want to address the value portion of this all important equation first. So, value. A lot of dark black pill MGTOW channels will tell men that they cannot change their value. And if they can't change their value, they might as well off themselves. Because you have no hope and no chance. This is a part of social media that I personally despise. And I can also tell you with unquestioned truth that this is a lie. You can change your value. You can change the way you're perceived by really everybody, not just the opposite sex, but how you're perceived by everybody in general, across the board. You can change your value. I'm working on changing my value right now. I just got back from a really balls to the wall workout at the gym, my new HIIT gym, and this is one way I'm trying to improve my personal value. My career is another. I'm working on really trying to elevate my particular professional performance in that regard, to elevate my value on that regard. And elevating your value in that regard has multiple benefits, as does health and fitness. Health and fitness obviously has benefits to your own life expectancy and your personal quality of life. And the professional bit has benefits in regards to your promotability and employability. You know, if you level up in that particular regard, you can make more money. I know because I've done it. And so this is the value part of the equation is very important. You can change it, and if you level up in various parts of your life, you will find that your personal value will climb. And if you're a man, this could actually improve your marketability with women as well. You know, if you're more fit, you're more healthy, you're thinner, you've got more muscle, obviously you're going to physically be a little bit more attractive and you're going to catch more attention. So that's the value part of this equation. The other part is the market part, and this is sometimes the tough one because the way a lot of women post this, and some men post this, they act like their market is everybody, and you're not for everybody. I'm not for everybody, and I'm very well aware of this. Your market is not the entire field. So stop acting like it is. Start thinking of what you want, and I've mentioned before in previous episodes, you need to define what you want. This is your market personally. Market is a very personal thing. It can be a very local thing too. So using myself as an example, my market is very, very narrow, but for very good reasons. And I think you will agree that it's not for any of the superficial reasons that a lot of people put out there. Men will insist that they physically have certain specific characteristics. Women will insist that they be 6 feet tall and make 6-figure incomes, or even in some cases 7-figure incomes. That is not the kind of narrow I'm talking about here. As mentioned previously, I have overcome a large number of very difficult obstacles against very long odds. The woman that I'm keeping an eye out for is somebody who is has a similar background. So this is a narrow group because I'm probably in the top 1% as far as that particular characteristic is involved, and she will also be similar. So I am looking in a very narrow band. My market is very small. I don't act and talk like somebody who's trying to get any woman out there. And I don't really necessarily, if she winds up being a hottie, that's a bonus. But that's not the real object here. She needs to be tough. She needs to be resilient. She needs to have overcome obstacles like myself on a world-class level. You know, she's not going to be a damsel in distress, as I've said before, because she has bailed herself out so many times. It's insane. Just like I've bailed myself out of very difficult situations with my back against the wall, even my own life at stake, against, narrow odds, and still have accomplished that. Women who are looking for a man to save them are not the types I'm looking for. If they express that they're looking for a woman to financially bail them out or to otherwise bail them out, they're immediately disqualified from my particular market. If they haven't overcome very severe obstacles in their life, they are not in my market. So you have to define your market, guys. And it's not going to be everybody. You're not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. Nobody is for everybody. Chad might think he's for everybody, but even he's not for everybody, because let's say this woman does show up in my life. She's not looking for a guy like that at all. Chads have life on easy mode. She's not looking for anybody who has life on easy mode, and neither am I. So my market is very narrow, but it is very narrow for a very healthy reason. So that is what market value boils down to in summation. I could go on and be a little bit more specific. Maybe at some point later on down the road I will. But you need to define your market value, define your value, improve your value, and define your market when it comes to this. Because if you don't, then you could wind up simping on any attractive woman who winds up on social media in your feed. And in order for me to figure this out with certain women, I have to elevate even my game in talking to them to begin with. I do have some around me who I think I would like to at least get some answers from. Not dates. I don't have to worry about the approaching or dates or getting rejected in that regard or getting false accusations against me, because all I'm looking for at this point is to know if somebody has overcome stiff obstacles against very long odds and is resilient and is tough. I can figure this out without dating anybody. I just need to have conversations with people and with certain women who I can sense on the surface might fit this qualification just from general talking. And that's pretty simple and very basic, and it's very doable. And I'm going to work on this personally. So I have defined my market value. My market value to this type of woman, I'm going to be everything to her. And she's going to be everything to me. But to everybody else out there, I'm just an average Joe Schmo who might be a 5 or a 6 on the attractiveness scale and is invisible. And that is fine. Because if I'm invisible to those types of, self-centered, life on easy mode women, that's great, because then I don't get involved with them. That's actually a very good thing for me, because I've defined my market value in very specific terms and figured out very specifically how that particularly connects with me personally. If we both have this particular kind of characteristic, we both will have the capability to give each other the grace that each other does not usually get from the rest of the world. People who are in these tough, resilient, highly adverse, complicated life stories do not get a lot of grace. One of the pastors at my church in a sermon recently actually said this. Complicated people get the least amount of grace of anybody on the planet, basically. But we also can give the most of it of anybody on the planet because of this. Because we're kind of empaths in a way. We don't want to put anybody else through what we've gone through. In a smaller example, just kind of a little bit off the path here, but I was in a little fender bender in an apartment parking lot a few weeks ago. They backed into the front of my car, but all they did was kind of break the little plastic license plate holder that was on the front of it. might be a $5 fix tops if we're going to be fair about it. And the fix isn't even necessary because as long as the screws are there to hold the plate in, that's all that matters as far as the cops are concerned. So I said, you know what, buddy? I'm not even going to report this to insurance because I know what it's like to have to be sweating an insurance claim and what it's going to do to my premiums and things of that nature. I know what it's like. I'm not going to put you through that because I've been there myself. So that is the empathetic part of a complex person in play. Because of this, that is why my market is very, very narrow. And if it's defined that way, it's actually healthy. Now, you look at these women videos out there of them demanding a 6 foot tall, 6-figure or 7-figure income earning man as their qualifications. That's not healthy because that's not defining how you're going to connect with somebody on a personal or a deep level. That's very superficial. And that type of, market definition is extremely unhealthy. They rightfully get ridiculed about this on social media all the time. The black pill channels have it way too easy with these, as I said yesterday. But I'm looking for somebody who's a lot more tougher, a lot more resilient than that, and that doesn't live life on easy mode and has overcome insane hurdles at long odds. She's resilient, she's tough, but she's also empathetic. That is the type of woman that I need. I don't even know if I even really need a woman at this point, but it would be one that I would really want because they would add value. So if you define their value, you can also define your market. And the two actually go hand in hand. That's why it's called market value. So that is it for tonight. I've defined and discussed market value to the extent that I can here. So anyway, this is Jason and the Simpademic. Enjoy your hump day. Enjoy the downhill slide for the rest of the week for Thursday and Friday. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Peace out, homies.